Hello, welcome to the Single African Market Program, dedicated to bringing you all the actions around the vision of the continent of Africa to integrate its market. And this week we're going to take you all the way to Niamey, Niger, where His Excellency, the Secretary General of the AfCFTA Secretariat, paid a working visit to the president, the current president, as well as the former president of the Republic of Niger. Single African Market was there, and we will definitely show you whatever transpired over there. Meanwhile, a lot of things have happened as far as this vision of the continent to integrate its market is concerned. Just a few days ago, we had the launch of the Pan-African Payment and Settlement Systems. We also had the unveiling of the IATF 2023. And then just about a week ago, we had the Council of Trade Ministers of Africa concluding on 88% of the rules of origin. And they said that once we get that approved by the heads of states just next week or so at the AU summit, we are going to begin to trade as a continent together under the AfCFTA. So all these are happening, and the people must know what is going on. The people must know where we have come from and where we are going. But who better to do this job to inform the public than our own journalists? Our journalists need to inform the public about what it is that the continent seeks to achieve with this whole AfCFTA dream and how far we have come, where we are going. So this week, the Ministry of Information in Ghana decided to train media practitioners in Ghana. About 30 media houses, journalists from there were trained to understand where the AfCFTA is, where they are going next, so that they can better be placed to inform the populace. The Chief Director of the Ministry of Information of Ghana opened the media training program, acknowledging the significant role of the Ghanaian media in demystifying complex national and continental issues and policies for the citizens.
We are also aware that the agreement establishing the AfCFTA entered into force on the 30th of May 2019, and its implementation started on the 1st of January 2021. But we will very well agree that most Ghanaians, and indeed all of us as citizens, do not have the in-depth knowledge that we need to have about AfCFTA to enable us leverage on the very good policy and strategy that has been rolled out by government. Indeed, this program runs with the spirit and principles of the recently launched media capacity program by the Ministry of Information to train journalists, to equip journalists with knowledge, skills, both generally and in specialized areas, to enable them deliver and bring information to the doorsteps of the public.
The UNDP resident representative in Ghana, Dr. Angela Lusigi, revealed that the Ghana Statistical Service survey indicates that 1 in every 4 agribusiness firm has no idea about AfCFTA.
Our focus is on ensuring that women and youth-led businesses who are often left behind are positioned to thrive under the AfCFTA. This is because we see the AfCFTA as a catalyst for inclusive structural transformation in Ghana and in Africa as a whole. One of the areas that is lagging, as demonstrated by the COVID-19 agribusiness tracker that was released by the Ghana Statistical Service with the support from UNDP, the World Bank, and GIZ, is the awareness about AfCFTA. Only 1 in 4 agribusiness firms knows about the AfCFTA, and very few effectively use digital technologies.
She echoed that the media is the bridge to close the knowledge gap on the AfCFTA.
So we must ensure that these firms receive up-to-date information on business opportunities through the AfCFTA. We must also help to facilitate their access to the knowledge about regulatory tools and instruments and financing opportunities to harness this wonderful opportunity. And I know the Ministry of Trade is doing a lot in this regard, and connecting them to those resources is really critical in going forward. And this means that you, our media partners, are an important bridge between policymakers and the public on one hand, and the national and regional institutions that are driving AfCFTA implementation. You are the gateway to enabling businesses and the public to better understand and leverage the benefits that CFTA offers. You have an important role to play in advocating for and influencing the policies and additional investments that are required for the AfCFTA to work for all.
The Minister of Information and Member of Parliament for Ofuasie Yerebi, Kojo Opon Nkrumah, charged the media to ask the relevant questions around the AfCFTA.
Now, there are some very important issues when it comes to the question of this free trade area and how it is functioning, how it ought to function. And it is important to enhance the capacities of our media practitioners so that they have a deep understanding of these emerging issues, and they can help the entire ecosystem grapple with them. For example, how much progress has really been made so far after the initial agreements were signed and the Secretariat was put up in Ghana and we announced that trade has commenced? How much progress has really been made so far? Are there some low-hanging fruits of success that we can see to account and highlight as an example for others to follow?
He emphasized that the training programs are being administered by experts in order to give media practitioners the best capacity to inform the citizenry.
Now, it's important to mention that these training programs are not being administered by government or government officials. You will notice that in all that you go through today, neither myself or civil servants or government practitioners or government actors will be administering the training. We're only facilitating. But these training programs are being delivered by technical persons and consultants who are very well versed in these areas and who would engage you and deal with the issues that you may also bring up.
The Information Minister expressed appreciation to UNDP for their support.
I wish to register my sincerest appreciation once again to the UNDP for your immense support in making this training possible for our journalists. As much as we very much appreciate what you're doing, it's our hope that you continue to support such programs in the medium to long term, because we need them to help our industry get stronger.
The Minister of Trade and Industry, represented by the Honorable Deputy Minister in charge of the sector, Herbert Krapper, highlighted the potential benefits of the AfCFTA to Africa and Ghana's development and shared updates on the status of the AfCFTA.
Touted as the new dawn of Africa's integration, Africa's free trade area holds the potential to advance equitable development for all of Africa's people. It addresses the challenges of small fragmented markets, adds value to Africa's abundant natural resources, provides a boost in intra-African trade, and ultimately promotes economic diversification and industrialization. That means more jobs for Africa's very young population, knowledge and skills transferred to the continent, and all put together an improvement in a sustaining way of the standard of living of our people.
He also highlighted Ghana's plans towards boosting intra-Africa trade.
As host nation, and I'm happy that Dr. Farid is here, Ghana has developed a national policy framework and implementation plan for the coordination of the program of action for boosting intra-African trade. It summarizes our national policy framework, institutional arrangements, communication strategy, monitoring and evaluation, and our plan for boosting trade within Africa. The Ministry of Trade and Industry has also launched a facilitation program of support to the Ghanaian companies exporting under the AfCFTA. This market expansion program is an integral part of our action plan towards boosting Ghana's intra-African trade.
The Deputy Trade Minister, in his speech on behalf of the Trade and Industry Minister, acknowledged the importance of trade information.
It is not for nothing, ladies and gentlemen, that trade information is regarded as one of the 7 most important clusters for boosting intra-African trade. Government and the media must collaborate strongly for an effective actualization of this most important objective. Without you and your active collaboration with government in that endeavor, businesses, SMEs, indeed many of us, will not understand fully this potentially life-changing agreement. You must create opportunities for businesses to provide input into the implementation of the agreement as they share lessons from their own experiences. You must regularly review the extent to which the country is engaging to implement the AfCFTA. On national multilateral trade policy links, I urge you to probe and analyze the relationship between AfCFTA trade rules and national trade policy challenges. On accessible analysis, the media have a duty to make complex policy processes and issues about AfCFTA intelligible for target audiences, explaining constantly technical language and jargon. On development perspective and poverty reduction, the media should focus on the link between trade and development opportunities and barriers, and the implications of AfCFTA for poverty reduction. On human impact, you should highlight how trade and trade policies directly affect people. On gender, you must constantly and consistently consider how trade policies reflect and affect the roles and socio-economic positions of men and women. Be the voice of marginalized people. Gather and include the views of vulnerable groups, whoever and wherever they are.
And concluded that the media in Ghana has an important role to play and commended the partners for a laudable idea of building the capacity of media practitioners in the area of AfCFTA.
On behalf of my minister and on my own behalf, I congratulate the Ministry of Information and its ever-dynamic minister, Honorable Kojo Nkrumah, under whose foresighted and determined leadership this training is being organized. I commend all stakeholders, including the UNDP and the media, for the zest that you have shown in participating. Together, we must help build the Ghana and Africa that we want, and we must be minded that the years of mere rhetoric are fast spent.
So after the opening ceremony by the dignitaries there, the journalists were taken through intense programs, several modules as important as they need to know and understand so that they can also inform the general public about it. Distinguished resource persons who were assembled to take the journalists through the training included Dr. Farid Arthur, the coordinator of the National AfCFTA Coordinating Office, Fetchin Akoto, Assistant Commissioner of Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Emmanuel Doni Kwame, Secretary General, International Chamber of Commerce, Ziad Hamui, Co-Chair, Food Trade Coalition for Africa, and National President, Ghana Borderless Alliance, Louis Afol, Executive Director, AfCFTA Policy Network, and Dodi Seidu, AfCFTA Consultant. The journalists were taken through the overview of the AfCFTA, its benefits and impact on SMEs, customs role as a competent authority, and intellectual property rights, among others.
Ghana's role in this has been always one in which we feel that we need to lead, and this role imposes on Ghana a little bit of a burden, because to whom much is given, much is also requested. And that is why we keep on pushing for Ghana to play a very leading role in the actualization of the AfCFTA.
Before we accept any goods coming in under the agreement to benefit from what preferential treatment, there's always need for us to verify whether those conditions have been met. So it is the duty of a designated competent authority to ensure that all those conditions have been met.
You have an idea, you think this idea can be commercialized. You put it on paper and you need to have the right for those ideas.
Two of my most interest groups that I prefer talking about are the African women in business, which most of you know that they form the large bulk of the informal trade across the continent. And another group is the young African entrepreneurs who make up also a bulk of the African population.
A distinguished media practitioner on African integration and Deputy Executive Director of the AfCFTA Policy Network, Emmanuel K. Bensa, and other experts exchanged experiences with the journalists. The journalists held the various resource persons to very engaging sessions. In all, journalists from about 30 media outlets in Ghana received certificates for participating in the training program on AfCFTA. Indeed, so those journalists have been taken through intense training, intense capacity building, with the hope that from now going you are going to hear and read a lot about the AfCFTA, particularly now that the continent is going to decide at 88% rules of origin negotiated to begin to trade. In the meantime, other stakeholders, other relevant institutions have started calling on journalists to begin to help this whole vision, to begin to propagate the agenda of the continent to integrate its market.
The media has a lot of work to do. I would like to see the media taking this whole AfCFTA and demystifying it for even the average man on the streets, okay? So that people become much more aware. If you look at Africa, a population of 1.3 billion people, yeah? What these borders that separate us have done is actually now to lock us in some artificial borders and actually make us not to be able to do business with each other.
We know that reporting trade, intra-African trade, and what the AfCFTA is doing is not easy, it's complex. In fact, the agreement is a highly technical thing. And the discussion we're having with the AfCFTA Secretariat is, how do we train journalists to report accurately, properly, also passionately? I know you don't want to report passionately, but this one you should.
And the Secretary General of the AfCFTA Secretariat has equally been making the call and extending the call to journalists who have the mandate to inform the public to begin to take up the agenda of the continent to integrate and create one market.
There is an acceptance that implementation of this agreement is not just this table, that it is all Africans, whether you are a trade lawyer or a journalist, but all of us have to do our part to implement this agreement based on where we are in our respective mandates. And this is what Prof was saying, helping journalists to understand and helping Africans to understand how do you access this agreement, some of the things that we talked about before, and also at the trade fair, how do you access financing to trade. Now we are discussing a transit guarantee scheme that will be rolled out throughout the African continent. How do we make sure that there is general knowledge and understanding about this initiative? This agreement is very complicated, very, very technical. It is something that was drafted by trade lawyers, and so obviously it is out of reach from ordinary people. And so we have to make sure that it is easily understandable and that it is easily accessible. And the best way to do that is through you in the media to help us to convey the benefits, the risks of the agreement to small, medium enterprises, to our business sector.
So as I indicated just a few days ago, the Council of Trade Ministers of the continent of Africa met here at the commercial capital of Africa to conclude on 88% of the rules of origin of products that are to be traded on the continent of Africa. And they have decided that this is what they are going to present to the heads of states, the AU summit on the 6th of February thereabout, to approve. And once they approve, the continent will begin trading at 88% of the rules of origin negotiated. Now, this week, His Excellency Wamkele Mene, the Secretary General of the AfCFTA Secretariat, paid a courtesy call or working visit to the Republic of Niger to brief the champion and leader of the AfCFTA who is also the former president of the Republic of Niger, Mahamadou Issoufou, His Excellency, the former president of Niger, as well as the current president of Niger, to let them know how far the trade ministers have decided and where the vision is heading towards next. The Single African Market was there. On Friday, 28th January 2022, the Council of Trade Ministers of Africa gathered in Accra, the commercial capital of Africa, to negotiate on key protocols of the AfCFTA and take critical policy decisions on the implementation of the AfCFTA. Addressing members of the press after the Council of Trade Ministers, the Minister of Trade, Industries and Competition of South Africa and the chairperson of the Council of African Trade Ministers, Honorable Ibrahim Petal, revealed that a groundbreaking decision to commence trading at 88% negotiated rules of origin had been concluded by the ministers.
That Council of Ministers made some groundbreaking decisions. It will now be conveyed to heads of state at the Assembly of the African Union. The most significant of it is we've bedded down key rules of origin that allows us now to say with confidence to heads of state that we have a package of products that we can start trading on.
The Secretary General of the AfCFTA Secretariat also revealed other significant decisions on issues that were discussed by the Council of Trade Ministers.
There was also a discussion by the ministers on the tools that are required to implement the AfCFTA and to make it relevant to the business community, to entrepreneurs. It is very important that this agreement becomes an agreement that creates opportunities for them.
Following these feats by the Council of African Trade Ministers, the Secretary General of the AfCFTA Secretariat embarked on a working visit to the Republic of Niger to brief the champion and leader of the AfCFTA and former president of Niger, His Excellency Mahamadou Issoufou, on the conclusions reached by the trade ministers.
Your Excellency, I will brief you on the outcome of the ministers' report, the ministers' meeting. They met in Accra on Friday. On rules of origin, Your Excellency, they have now reached agreement on 87.7% of rules of origin. There is still differences of use on automobiles, on textiles and clothing, on sugar, and a few other tariff lines. But the main ones that are outstanding is textiles and clothing, automobiles, and sugar.
His Excellency Wamkele Mene also called on the current president of Niger, His Excellency Mohamed Bazoum, for a briefing.
The work that we are doing is getting more and more intense, and I have just briefed President Bazoum now and requested him to continue to support us at the level of heads of states.
The AfCFTA Secretary General then left for the AU summit in Addis Ababa to brief heads of states. He is expected to follow up to Cairo, Egypt, for the launch of the Afrexim Bank's AfCFTA Adjustment Fund. The Single African Market will surely bring you all the actions from there. Okay, so that was His Excellency Wamkele Mene, the Secretary General of the AfCFTA Secretariat in Niger, meeting with the former as well as the current presidents of the Republic of Niger, briefing them on the decisions of the Council of Trade Ministers of the continent of Africa. And right after there, His Excellency Wamkele Mene is heading for the AU summit, and a lot of these conclusions will be made there because the heads of states will be hopefully approving what the Council of Trade Ministers have decided on, and hopefully the continent will commence trading after that. It's very, very important that you follow this conversation around this area, because any moment from now, we should be hearing from the entire continent that we are one, we have one market, and we are ready to trade together. The Single African Market, as usual, is back there at the AU Summit, and will be feeding you with everything that is going to happen right there at the summit. We'll hear from the Secretary General, and we'll hear from the heads of states. West African political bloc ECOWAS on Friday, after an extraordinary session to discuss recent military coups in Guinea, Mali and Burkina Faso, announced it was suspending Burkina Faso's membership and would send a delegation to the capital, Ouagadougou. The move comes after a military coup in Burkina Faso on Monday, led by Colonel Paul-Henri Damiba, which saw the democratic government of former President Roch Kabore ousted by mutinying soldiers. ECOWAS has already placed sanctions on Mali after its military junta sought to extend the transition period to democratic rule by 5 years. Coming up next on your screens are the weather report for all African cities, as well as the flight schedules from the commercial capital of Africa, that's Accra, to the rest of African cities, the forex rate for all African markets, as well as the AfCFTA party status. As I have always been hinting, this year 2022 is a year of action, particularly for this vision of the continent to create one market for itself. Action upon action. This week, the AU Summit is taking place. The Single African Market is already there, and we will be feeding you with every information, everything that's happening as far as this agenda to create one market is concerned. You will have it on this platform. We encourage you to tag along, be informed, and know where we are heading. Thank you for watching the program. See you same time next week. In the name of great Africa, is the fight and conquer now. Forever, in the name of great